May 1st, 2023. This is the S&P 500 E-Futures Mini on the NinjaTrader 8 platform, 2000 tick chart. This is what the charts look like today. This is a kind of a pretty choppy day. I found it kind of tricky to trade. It actually only moved about 20 points because if you look down here, roughly, well, this is at the aftermarket. It's about 41.80 to about 42.06. So it's about 25 points of range. So it was pretty choppy, but also the volume and volatility were quite low. So it made for a tricky trading day. Now you can go down to the descriptions below. You can see with timestamps of where I took my trades as well as where I saw setups. I took a grand total of 5 trades today. It's these ones that are boxed. And out of the 5, I only got 1 green trade, and the rest were all losing trades, unfortunately. The first trade was green. The second trade, I'm not sure, this one right here, I'm not sure if I would have done anything different. I think I might have taken that trade again, but we'll go review it. The third trade, it was actually would have been a green trade had I not been greedy, because this first trade was green, this second trade was red, so I was a little in the red now. And then this green trade, I wanted to not only get it all back to earn a profit, so I violated my own rules and actually moved my limit profit a little bit more than it should have. And I would have actually just scalped out as the plan should have been. Instead, I saw it hit my original profit target and then it reversed and then took me out. Then the fourth trade, it was, I think it was an inexperienced trade because I thought I saw something, but then in hindsight, when I reviewed it again, I realized it really wasn't a good setup. And then the fifth trade was it was kind of an ugly setup that really wasn't there. So I should have skipped it altogether, but I took it anyways. It was at the end of the day, so it kind of violated a couple of rules. And I think it was just probably a little bit of desperation and emotion to try to at least get some of the red back. So that's kind of the summary of all the trades today. Overall, the market was, I guess you could say it was in a trading range, but the trading range wasn't very clean because it only really touched, depending on where you thought it was, maybe twice at the bottom, but it never confirmed. And at the tops, it never really confirmed anything either. It kind of never stopped at the same spot. Originally, it looked like it was making higher highs, then it came down and made lower lows. So it made for a challenging, tricky trading day, especially for someone like me who was not, I would say, super experienced, but getting there. So go ahead and, excuse me, go into the trades today. This is the pre-market, and you can already tell the pre-market, there wasn't very many candles being printed because it was a rather slow day. And I suspect it's because the FOMC meeting is coming up, and there wasn't really any much economic data except for, excuse me, the ISM PMI Manufacturing numbers that came out at around 7 o'clock, which is right around here. It didn't really create too much of a market reaction because you can see here is 41.90 to 41.97. So right around here, it didn't really move the market too much. So prices, they just took the news and they just kind of went on their merry way. So this is the gray area, and this is where the market opens. And the first trade that I saw was a new low here. It kind of confirmed. You could consider it, I consider it a double bottom, but you can consider it a triple test if you wanted to, because it's actually 1, 2, and then the third one. But I just counted these two together as one, and this is the second one. So as a new low here, first entry short. Go ahead and zoom in a little bit more. It's first entry short here. Then it creates a second entry short, and then it creates a second entry short failure. So I thought this is a possible trade. It's a pretty good signal bar. The EMA was holding, and there's enough room to scalp to get out at the top. Unfortunately, I got a late start today, so I missed this trade. And when I started trading, it already happened, but I marked it just so I would realize it and notice it, just to also practice and hone my chart reading skills. Prices continue moving up. I had a channel here drawn. It confirmed 3 times, so I was pretty confident. It also confirmed 3 times at the top. So you have a pretty decent channel. Overall, the trading range looked like I drew it actually from the pre-market highs to the pre-market lows, and later I dragged it up. But as I said, you're going to see in the bigger picture, it didn't really come into play. So there's a new high here, comes down, first entry long, makes a second entry long. Now, this second entry long, it's not a very good setup because this signal bar is decent, but it's too far from the EMA, and you look like you're going back into trading range. But as soon as the second entry long is made, it's starting to struggle, and then it fails right here. It also made a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. And when I saw this, I thought I need a lower high to confirm the second entry short, which is from here, first entry short, second entry short, and it fails second entry long, which would be new high here, first entry long, second entry long all the way up to here. Second entry long hasn't failed yet until it broke down right here. So technically right here made, let's just zoom in real quick to see what this looks like here. So technically here, it's a second entry long is still strong. Here, the second entry long fails, and you have a confirmed second entry short. When I saw this, I said you should wait and get a confirmed lower high to make sure you're going to break through, because you're right at the midline. At the time when I had this drawn, it was actually the midline was a little bit lower here. So I actually entered this trade for a quick scalp. I didn't enter until, because I saw this lower high, I waited for it to play out a little bit just to see if the EMA would hold. And you see this red candle, this red arrow here is right where I entered. And it's hard to see, but there's entries right here. Got a little bit of better feel, came down, got my scalp, and I was out. Prices then continued moving up. I saw a failed second entry short here, so it's a new low here. Actually, the lowest low is here, but this is still considered a new low here. First entry short, second entry short. Now, second entry short, when I watched then this candle form, I knew it's a failed second entry short. I hesitated because as this was forming, the best entry would have been probably, if you could have gotten it, like maybe at least one tick above here. To say you're going to get it one tick above here, I mean, you would have to have much more experience or a good gut feel. But to take it down here, I don't know if you would have gotten filled, because if you would probably have to take it as it engulfed this green candle, but then it's risky because it never confirmed to engulf this red candle yet. Then if you waited for this one to close and you put the entry one tick below here, you're never going to get filled. But when I saw this close, I was tempted to put one entry here, but I was hesitating because I saw the recent high here, and I wasn't sure if it was going to actually come up and break or touch here, because I also had this trend channel drawn, which confirmed once, twice, three times. And when you take it here, there's not much room to the top of this channel. So all those told me, I should just sit back and wait. And I thought it was kind of a missed trade because I thought about it. I saw this close and I wanted to put my entry here. And then when this formed, I knew the scalp was already made and I should just leave it alone in case this next candle flashes down, takes me, fills me, and then continues down. It would have stopped out. So unfortunately, it looked like a nice setup after the fact. And maybe with more experience, I would have recognized it was a good setup, or at least maybe a setup worth taking. Or I'm completely wrong and other people watching this video will realize like there's no setup here. So with time, I'll get better experience and I'll have a better idea of what I'm looking at. Prices continue moving up. It breaks out. So it breaks out this time. I'm not really giving this too much weight, thinking that it might come back up and touch just yet, because I know it may technically one leg down, maybe pulls back, but I saw it more as one leg down. And this is the first pullback of this downtrend. Consolidates. It gets real choppy, makes trading range. Then it breaks out, and I'm thinking maybe it's going to come back up and touch the highs, but I don't see a clean setup to take. See a new high here, first entry long, and it moves all the way up, and now the first entry long is like just gone, and it breaks out. So I'm thinking maybe there might be a breakout, a fail breakout. I do see this second entry short fail breakout. So I counted this as a new low, counted this one leg up, down, first entry short, one leg up, and then down. And this is where I took my second entry short, my second trade. Now, this is the trade that I actually lost, but I also thought it was a decent setup because I have these two orange arrows indicating a measured move up, pull back a second measured move. So everything was telling me, especially when I saw this candle, I said, okay, as soon as this one finished printing, I thought this could be potentially a second entry short. Overall bias is that it's kind of neutral because it's just, there is a bullish bias because it's more of the upper half, but I was thinking it's a fail breakout because depending on how you drew it, yes, there's a breakout here, but I thought, the breakout here might have enough strength to come back down to at least hit the midline. And so I took the entry, you can see where the red arrow is. I took my entry here, I got in a little late, just one tick below. One tick below would have been half between this and this, but I didn't get the best fill. Took the entry, it moves, chop sideways. I'm about to get stopped out. I still haven't been stopped out yet. Still chop sideways. At this point, I'm getting nervous because this could be a support. And it flashes up, and this is where I got stopped out. One tick above this candle here. And so it turned out to be a red trade, but I thought, and in hindsight, if I saw this again, I think I might have taken this trade again, just because I thought the setup was decent enough. Now, I kept looking over it throughout the day, wondering if I was something I missed, and I'm not sure if there was something I missed other than maybe there's more bullish bias and it didn't quite play out because there's potentially this big leg up and then potentially a second leg to go up. But again, I thought it was a decent trade. Unfortunately, I lost on it. The prices continue moving up, chops around. This is kind of holding now. I saw a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. Now, the second entry long looks like it hasn't failed yet, but it looks like it's about to fail. So I was keeping my eyes out. And right here, it does fail. It's breaking back into the trading range. It did close below the EMA because EMA was trending up and now it closed below. Excuse me. Excuse me. Closed below. And I thought, okay, well, I should look for a higher low confirmation, or excuse me, a lower high confirmation. This is actually mislabeled. It's actually a lower high because it's a high, but it's slightly lower. So when I saw this lower high and it's holding below the EMA. This might have been a worthwhile trade to take, except it's a very bullish bar. So I'm waiting for one more bar to form. And when this flashed down, definitely it's a lower high now, but that kind of scared me. There's a lot of momentum here, and I would have wanted to enter one tick below here to get pulled in, but something was telling me I should probably put my entry up here just to be a little bit safer, to be a little bit closer to the EMA. And unfortunately, it never comes back for me. So that was a missed trade. And then if I kind of followed my gut and put it down here, I would have gotten into this trade, except my stop loss would have been way up here, definitely above this candle, probably above this swing, but most likely I would have wanted to put it up here where the failed second entry long was. But to go from here is 41.98 all the way down to 41.94. That's 4 ticks, 4 points. And that's a little bit larger of a risk than I wanted to try. So unfortunately, that was a missed trade. The prices continue moving down. I don't see a good setup. It's into this big pink trading range now, and it breaks below the midline. It came back up, touched the EMA, but I didn't see a trade here because I saw a new low, first entry short, and that's all I saw. Comes up, breaks above, and it comes back down. Now, it's kind of like a third entry here, a first entry short, second entry short, third entry short, technically a fourth entry short. So I didn't really see a good setup there, at least safe. This prices continue moving, and this is the trend channel I originally had, and it broke out. So then I drew this secondary overlapping one, which kind of fit, but still was not the cleanest. So I didn't feel safe taking or looking for any, but not taking any entries. Prices continue moving up. It's chopping. It makes this trading range, this dotted line up here, and then it breaks down. And I'm thinking maybe it's a 2-tier trading range. And I did see a new high here, first entry long, second entry long. Now this second entry long, I thought, okay, this is potentially a possible trade here because it made a measured move from this high down once, pulls back, makes a second one. But I had gotten burned on this over here where it made a measured move up twice. And I was concerned that it's potentially bouncing off this top of this trading range. Now this trading range is a little subjective because it's not clean. It only had 1-2 touches and then it already broke out. So to give this trading range more respect, that it's actually a support, is not really, in this case, valid, or I wasn't sure yet. So that conflict of thinking I could take a second entry long off a pretty decent signal bar, but then this top of this trading range acting as another key resistance or key support, it was a little iffy. So I had a little bit of conflicting ideas of what was going to happen. So that told me that I should just sit out and wait or look for a higher low, but it doesn't come because it just flashes down. So had I entered this, I don't think I would not have gotten out for a scalp, and I would have gotten stopped out for sure because I would have put it 1 tick below here and this candle would have taken me out. Then if not, this candle likely would have taken me out. It would have flashed up, comes back down. I draw this channel now because it touches 2-3 times roughly pretty well, and then it touches 2-3 times up here. So I see new high, first entry long, second entry long, but it's coming up against this top of this channel on a slightly bearish character of this trend. So I decided just to leave it alone. It chops around, breaks down, breaks through, and now it makes all these tiny little candles with all these, well, depending on how you looked at it, a bunch of second entries, but they weren't very clean and very high probability, so I left it alone. Creates this overshoot. I see this one leg up, and I see the second leg up. And so when I saw that, and I saw this new low, first entry short, second entry short. Now what happened was, this is actually the third trade of the day, because This trade I got green, this trade I got red, and this trade I thought was a decent setup. So I'm pretty much red for the day after commissions and a slight loss. So when I saw this setup, I wanted to take this trade and I did. And I entered. What happened was it's a good signal bar. It makes a double bottom right here. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Double bottom on this candle and this candle. And you can see we're right where I entered right here. I thought, okay, double bottom, EMA is holding prices down. It made two measured legs up, 1, 2. So might have a good pullback now. But what happened was I got greedy. Instead of just getting this quick scalp, I said, I'm going to actually have my stop way down here, or my limit profit way down here, to not only clear out, any losses, but get back into the green, which is asking for more than what my strategy was intending. And so if I just went for the 1 point profit just to work on the strategy, I would have gotten out right here on this candle for sure. But I didn't, and it stops me out right here, 1 tick above this guy. So this is actually a trade that would have worked had I followed the rules. But unfortunately, I didn't. I got greedy, and I just got, I guess, FOMO trading emotional, where I wanted to get back exactly what I lost. So unfortunately, it stopped me out. It's kind of a good lesson that I should just stick with the rules. And especially on this type of trade, I should just wait for a better setup if I was going to hunt for more points. But even here, this is at 41.84. I should have known at 41.84, the overall range of the day was, as I said, only 25 points now. And this is getting late in the day. So to look for anything bigger was a little bit more risky. Then prices continue chopping. It goes into this trading range. I see a higher low here. So I thought this was a confirmation of a second entry long, because I count this as a new high. First entry long, pulls back, second entry long. Now the second entry long technically fails right here. But then I saw this and I thought, well, obviously this is a higher low confirmation. But what I didn't take into consideration is, so I saw this and I said, I'm going to enter, and this is where I entered, 1 tick above. It's right at the EMA, but I'm not giving the EMA much credit at this point because it's in a trading range. EMA is flat. When I saw this and I entered, I should have been more patient, because what's actually setting up is potentially also a new low, first entry short. This is a really good signal bar for a second entry short. Turns out that is exactly what happened. This is a second entry short, came down, stopped me out because I had it 1 tick below this guy. This is my red arrow, and made another red trade. So in hindsight, when this is so choppy, this is also close to the middle of this channel, or excuse me, range. So it's a little risky to have taken that. I should have been a little more patient and watched it. Then prices continue moving down, breaks out of this trading range. It looks like it's coming back in, so it's like a failed breakout, but it took a while, so I didn't really like that. Prices continue moving up, and this is a, well, this is, I guess, a no reason kind of a FOMO trade, because I had a new low here, first entry short, second entry short. Technically it is a third entry short, but right here when the second entry short formed, it technically fails. So this is a failure on the second entry short. So when I saw a failed second entry short at this point, I'm thinking, oh, well, obviously prices are going to keep moving up. But I, kind of negated the idea, or neglected the idea, that it's getting close to the top of this trading range. And when this one came back down, when I saw this, I thought, well, lower high, it's going to go back up. But there's too many conflicting variables happening at this point, because it's a new low, first entry short, second entry short, technically a third entry short, or a failed second entry short. So this higher low really doesn't tell me anything. It really isn't. It's just a higher low. Certainly it's higher than the previous low, but it's not really set up correctly. And although I saw 2 legs going up, and then there should be a pullback, it kind of played out with 2 legs up. There should probably be 2 legs down now, but I didn't think all the way through. And this is also, look at where I took the trade right here. It's only like 7 minutes left to try to see a quick response to try to get some of the losses back. This was a poorly planned trade, and I shouldn't have taken it. So I entered here. This is where the blue arrow where I entered. It's also entered. It's horrible entry. Prices continue moving, and then this is where it stopped me out, and for good reason, because this is no good setup. It's not very clear. Too many conflicting ideas. I wasn't clear in the mind, and I was certainly rushed because there's only about 7 more minutes in the trade. So to think I was going to pull a miracle out was foolish. Then prices continue chopping, and then it goes into the aftermarket. So those are the 5 trades I took today. First trade was relatively decent. Second trade, I thought, well, I just got stopped out. I thought it was a decent setup. And then third trade was it was a greedy trade. I should have just kept with my original limit core profit and I would have turned out greedy. And then this one was a mistake. I think I just didn't read it correctly, the fourth trade. And then the fifth trade was a bad, well, flat out bad trade. So hopefully that was helpful.